We saw Poland take on the Netherlands. It would be Poland who would open the scoring, despite the fact, of course, there was no Lewandowski. He was out injured. Buska would open the scoring for Poland, but Netherlands would get themselves back into the game. Gakpo, huge deflection, would see him make it 1-1. And then, who else? Wout Weghorst, off the bench, would score to give the Dutch all 3 points. A big win, of course, for them, Mario, especially considering they were 1-0 down.
Yeah, no, definitely, because, before the game started, we already, Holland was confident that they were going to win this game. The confidence was rising, but we always knew that Poland, the way they answered also without Lewandowski, people thought like, okay, this is going to be an easier task. But you heard the coach talking and said he was holding out till the last minute of the game when he gave out the starting 11 to show that he wasn't starting. Then they get the corner. I'm not a zone marking guy. I don't like it. Yeah, Buska, he comes up, flicks the ball, boom, 1-0 down. The whole game, the tactic changes. Why? It was better for Holland because they had to attack. So they couldn't sit and try to control too much in the sense of like slowing it down. No, they had to speed up the game. Okay, Gakpo, deflection, and then, yeah, the big man comes on. That is why he's in the national team. People ask, why is he not starting? He's not starting because it's not the type of football that Koeman wants to play. He wants to play with speed and attractive football. Weghorst is the guy that brings out the solution. When the other part doesn't work, you put him on. And this is nothing new, because even when I was playing in the national team, we always had one player that would do that job, and he's doing that job. Comes on and he scores.
He most certainly does. Mark, you were there. What was the atmosphere like?
Oh, it was fantastic. It's been great in Hamburg all day. I mean, the Dutch fans are amazing. They've travelled from just across the border. They really made it a cage, as the Poles did. But they're a funny team to watch, the Dutch, because, they're great technically and, Reinders look good in midfield, but they haven't got a cutting edge. They've got some good attacking players in Gakpo and Depay, and obviously Weghorst came on the score. But if they'd had just one of the many great strikers they've had in the past, Van Basten, Van Nistelrooy, Kluivert, Van Persie, Bergkamp, they'd have a chance. But they're so limited going forward, and I just think when they come up against a top team again, they'll find it very difficult without the cutting edge. I mean, Depay, amazingly, is second only to Van Persie in terms of the Netherlands' all-time top scorers, but he was awful today. But he's walking around with his headband on, which suggests that, he's... I thought it was John McEnroe at first, but he was just got his number 10 on his head, and it clearly rates himself more than he should do, because he just doesn't have that cutting edge, even though he's got the goal. He must score a lot of goals against weak opposition, because...
Mark, you're sounding Dutch, man. You're sounding Dutch, Mark. You're sounding Dutch, Mark. You are also going on the hairband with him. Everybody in Holland is talking about it, man. And now I come here and you jump on it too. Everybody talks about it. They quiet down now, but they were talking about it until he didn't stop doing it. He said, I love it. I do it anyway. So Koeman said, if he likes it, carry on.
Mario, away from the headband, though, it is a problem, isn't it, that you don't have a number 9 of some of the greats that obviously Mark just listed?
Yeah, no, Mark was right. I mean, look, away from what I just replied to him, no, Mark is right. One of the top strikers, look, Depay, what he's good at, he scored the numbers that everybody wants. I think he's 5 goals from, hitting the top. He's, I think, 45 goals now. But what it comes down to is that... him at his best is when he's fully fit and playing and everything. He had a couple of injuries, then he comes back, then he didn't play for a long time. Remember when at Atletico, we were waiting for him to come back, and then he got through the tournament. One thing we have to understand, he's one of the most important players, but he was that kind of around the striker. Now he is the striker. So then the way we play becomes different. And also because we expected Poland to sit deep. So we needed to be creative. That's why Simons played on the right and we had Gakpo on the left in the hope that we had to open things up. But they were not sitting back. So that's why it was kind of like, Frimpong came on later, but that's why we could, use more pace in the team. But we didn't have it from the start because Frimpong, that is what he's really bringing. So for the national team, for Holland, I think, like I said, for England, it's the same thing. You win your first game, that is the most important part. But you have to make sure you keep on growing, because if not, if you play like this every game, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? You compare it, obviously, to Germany and Spain, who had statement victories. This wasn't that from the Dutch today.
Lightweight. And Depay plays like a player that knows there's not really many alternatives at times, And sometimes you need that kick up the backside of a replacement, and they really don't have anybody that can do something similar. I thought the Dutch at times played some good stuff. They're tidy, but I agree the end product is a problem. And also at the other end, they did look vulnerable when Poland played the odd ball over the top in the set piece. Obviously, the zonal marking, they got caught out. They got themselves back in it. They didn't panic. And he made the substitution at the right time, and Weghorst scored a very good goal. But I think they are a little... I mean, they'll play some nice football, the Dutch. They got Dumfries down the right in the first half on quite a few occasions. Couple of half chances against a very, very average Polish side, it has to be said. They're another side that's getting weaker, not stronger. But yeah, I think Koeman clearly by this game has got his hands full. Unless Memphis Depay suddenly finds this form again, and all of a sudden he's bringing other people into play, and they're getting runners from midfield. Of course, there's no Frankie de Jong either in there to control it. So it was a good victory in the end for Koeman. You saw that in his face at the end when he came on. He's like hugging Weghorst like he'd won the World Cup, because the pressure's on him. But I think he can only do so much with this side.
Let's take a look then at how things stand in that group. The Dutch top with 3 points. It's, of course, Austria against France. That's the late game on Monday. France, of course, fancied by many to go all the way. Also on Monday, we'll see Romania against Ukraine, and Belgium take on Slovakia.